What's your name, organization, and position?
I'm Jana Bailey, and I'm the Executive Director of Child Protect, the Children's Advocacy Center in Montgomery. But we also serve Autauga, Elmore, and Chilton counties. The advocacy centers are set up to serve judicial circuits. So we serve the 15th Judicial Circuit, which is Montgomery County, and the 19th, which is Autauga, Elmore, and Chilton counties.
Can you give a short description in your list of programs?
Yes, we provide a forensic interview on children when there have been allegations of abuse. And those reports of abuse go to the Department of Human Resources because they are the state agency that is mandated to investigate child abuse cases. All sex abuse cases are a crime. So every time a report of sex abuse is reported or allegations of abuse are reported to the Department of Human Resources, then they have to notify law enforcement. Now, if they're cases of physical abuse, they don't always notify law enforcement because our state does have corporate punishment law, and so parents are allowed to spank their children or whatever. But if it's severe physical abuse, then they notify law enforcement. We also provide an interview on children where they may have witnessed a crime or they've witnessed domestic violence or maybe abuse on a child who is younger than 3 because we can't really interview children that are much younger. We provide the forensic interview, and that's one of our staff members talks to the child in a room by themselves, and both of the investigators sit in another room and watch it as it's on a monitor. And we just help discern the truth of those allegations. So you have 3 people who are hearing the child, and they're in a friendly, non-threatening environment, so they're comfortable and they talk about what's happened to them. After that, we provide follow-up counseling with the children, and all of our services are free of charge, and we kind of liken the forensic interview as the emergency room visit, and then the counseling as going to rehab. So it's just as important for that child to do follow-up so they can work through the issues that they're having from the abuse.
Where does most of your funding come from?
Probably about 40% of it comes from 2 of our largest grants, which is the general fund in the state of Alabama, and that's about $40,000. And we get a VOCA grant, which is Victims of Crime Assistance. It's not really federal dollars. It's actually, because it's not taxpayer dollars, it's actually restitution that is paid into a grant or a foundation that the federal government just oversees. And the Victims of Crime Assistance Act was passed in the early 70s, and it was a way for this restitution to be paid into this foundation to help agencies that serve victims of crime. So we get about $70,000 from that. Our budget's about $350,000, so the rest of that comes from individual donors, fundraisers, and other local grants and foundations that we write to.
How many children do you see a year?
Last year, our year is October to September, we're on a fiscal year, and we conducted 604 forensic interviews on children in the 4 counties that we serve. 98% of those were sexually abused children, and the other 2% was what I was talking about, that were severe physical abuse. They'd witnessed murders, they'd witnessed drug raids, they'd witnessed rapes, and abuse of siblings.
How has your organization helped the community?
It provides these services to the Department of Human Resources and law enforcement without spending tax dollars. And that's probably one of the biggest benefits, is that we provide this service free of charge, and we are nonprofit, so it leaves us neutral in helping the investigators. Not only that, but we know that with intervention that children, well, let me back up. We know that 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 7 boys are sexually abused by the time they're 18 years old. Without intervention, those children go on to be the juvenile offenders that we see. They get into drug problems. Girls end up pregnant. A lot of times they get into sexually promiscuous activities. They get into abusive relationships. And then as they grow up without any of this being resolved, they get into the workforce and they're not able to work, alcoholism. 76% of women in prison today were sexually abused as children, and 82% of boys were either physically or sexually abused as children that are in prison today. So if we can do intervention on this end, then we can help prevent some of the crimes that happen later on.